Let's do it again. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Lore Lodge official podcast. I am Aiden Mattis. This is Thorn Bussy.
Howdy.
Howdy? Are you a cowboy now?
I mean, these boots were made for walking.
Oh, my God. We ran into each other yesterday in the wild.
We did, actually. That was hilarious.
I was unwell.
I was going to text you literally an hour before. I was like, hey, when are you going to be back, by the way? And then I come back from the bathroom because I'm at lunch with Kat, and I go up to the bar to say, like, oh, hey, by the way, guys, your dispenser's out of, like, what is that, paper towels? Mm-hmm. And then we both just look at each other and we're like, oh.
Yeah. Also, is that crooked? Is the camera crooked?
It is a little bit, yeah.
I just realized that. Well, now it's more crooked.
No, I went the other way.
Nope. Ah. There we go. Why am I shorter than you? Did you do this on purpose?
No, I didn't, actually.
He's lying to you. He is lying to you about his own height.
There we go. Oh, no, I never
Fool of a
lie.
man.
I am a small person.
Yeah, but no, I did bar golf yesterday, which was 9 holes.
Yep.
And by 9 holes, that means 9 bars to drink 9 drinks in 2 hours.
Remember how I asked you yesterday whether it was the front 9 or the back 9?
I think it was the back 9.
Yeah, I think it was the back 9.
It was tough. If you ever feel inclined to do a bar crawl and finish by chugging a Corona, you are making the wrong choice.
Let's be clear, Lo. The Corona was not the worst of the chug choices that he made.
Oh, no, we had to do a sour. It was called the Philly Vice. It was at Rec Room. And it was a 16-ounce sour. It burned the back of my throat. I think I would actually have rather chugged a bottle of Pink Whitney.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah,
That's a statement.
it was like chugging a Four Loko.
I've done that.
Same.
That resulted in this.
Oh God. I don't recommend anybody watching repeat what we did, because that's a terrible time.
Oh, please, no. Drink responsibly, for the love of God.
But when you are drinking, the next morning, typically you have a pretty rough headache and everything, and one way to fix that is with Mount Pocono Perk from the Lore Lodge and Tableau Roasting Company. Yes, that's right. This entire story about me getting painfully hungover was, in fact, an ad for coffee. I say that because I will be honest, this stuff has been a miracle when it comes to morning after thickness. Also, McDonald's pancakes.
Mm-hmm. They are pretty fire.
Oh, the hangover disappears.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
It's the only thing that can actually cure a hangover. I'm not a doctor.
This is not financial advice.
Legally speaking.
That's my favorite thing is when people on podcasts are like, yeah, I mean, financially, you should really do these things. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Yeah. But you should, you know.
Oh, it's great.
Somebody in the chat said, what about crack, though? Probably not. Probably shouldn't do crack.
Kat just said, we did the Pink Whitney exactly a year ago to the day.
Pink Whitney? When did we do Pink Whitney?
A year ago to the day is when we were dyeing your hair blue.
Did we do Pink Whitney that night?
I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, God. I think today is also Archie's Gotcha Day.
Wow, April 2nd, full of a lot of surprising points in history.
Yeah, the boy is with his cousin, keeping her company. She's not feeling too great, so you know, his cousin being a dog.
Yes.
My family's other dog. He's helping her out because she's getting older, and you know, he helps her, you know, walk around the backyard and stuff. He's a good boy. Yes. He's a very good boy. But with all of that said, of course, we do in fact have a show for you tonight. We have a thing to talk about that's not our personal lives.
Yes. Shockingly enough,
you know, we got to get into it with a little bit of.
We got to catch up on the shenanigans.
Yeah, I got to explain, you know,
why you're going to crash in an hour.
Exactly. Why I'm struggling right now. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Bobby Bizup case. This is, in my opinion, up there with like The Boy in the Box as far as mystery and the way it plays out. I mean, if you look at the timing, The Boy in the Box case was what, 1954, I think? 54, 55?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
This was 58. In both cases, it's a disabled child.
Yep.
In both cases, there's a change of custody.
Yep.
Like, there's a whole bunch of parallels here, but unfortunately, with Bobby Bizup, you know, with The Boy in the Box, we had the ability to test for DNA. We knew, you know, Generally, where he was, who he was related to, eventually was figured out. This one is a lot different. The Boy in the Box case was so many left turns and just out of nowhere new stuff coming in. There was none of that for this. There was never any new evidence up until really exactly 6 years later.
Yeah.
Because when Bobby went missing, initially everybody looked at it as this just horrible tragedy that came out of nowhere. Nobody understood. Nobody knew what happened. But it wasn't foul play. He just disappeared. With The Boy in the Box, with Joseph Zarelli, everyone knew that was a murder.
Yeah.
Like from the jump, this was a murder. It was treated like a murder. With Bobby, it was treated like a missing persons case because nobody thought anything could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Today, obviously, everybody knows that the Catholic Church has had some issues with, trying to use family-friendly terms here, but you know what we're talking about.
Inappropriate behavior.
Inappropriate relations with young boys.
Yep.
Between priests and young boys. So in 1958, that was not nearly as widely known.
Yeah. It not only was it like surprising to hear about, but it was also like if someone tried to say anything about it, it would not be heard.
Exactly. Today, you hear, 10-year-old boy ran off at a Catholic youth camp, and you immediately jump to conclusions.
Yep.
In 1958, there's no reason to jump to those conclusions. Nobody thinks about this stuff.
Yep.
And as we learned with the Boy in the Box case, people were not nearly as open about their private lives, like children especially.
No.
Because if we look at, M, I think her name was Marie, right? Maria?
Mary?
From Mary?
I think it was Mary.
Mary? Yeah.
I think so.
I think. From the Boy in the Box case, she witnessed all this. She was horribly abused herself, and she just didn't talk about it because it wasn't something you talked about. Your private life was your private life, no matter how bad it was.
Was it Martha?
Martha, that's what it was. Yep. So, in this case, it's further complicated because even if Bobby had not died, he was deaf. He had a really hard time communicating. He was only 10. It would have been really hard for him to express to his parents, if he even felt comfortable telling them, what actually happened to him, if that is what happened. But of course, in order to understand why nobody jumped to that conclusion immediately, it's not just the fact that nobody knew these things about the Catholic Church yet. On top of that, the story that was initially told to police, reporters, search and rescue, was that Bobby had gone missing in a completely different place than where it eventually was determined he probably disappeared from. This guy, Terry Cowan, said that Bobby was fishing on Cow Creek, which is not on any map. I think it was Cabin Creek. It's the only map that makes sense.
Must have been, yeah.
The only creek that makes sense on the map. But he says that Bobby was fishing. Problem is, contemporary reports both say that Bobby was solo and with a group. So either Bobby was alone with Terry or Bobby was with a group. Either way, that meant that the search was focused east of the camp, down the hill. They did search elsewhere. They actually searched where he was eventually found. But it's not entirely clear when, just that it was searched 3 times before any of his remains were found. So if Terry lied, then Terry probably knows what happened. But that seems obvious to me. So you got to look at that aspect. And then on top of that, everybody else seems to have lied too. Because the father in charge of the camp didn't say anything about Terry not telling the truth. The other counselors who would have known if Terry was telling the truth didn't say anything. And all of the campers, when eventually, 60 years later, people went and interviewed the various campers as well as camp staff, it came to light that a lot of those contemporary reports were just straight up fabrications. They were wrong. But again, because this wasn't being treated as a crime, this was being treated as somebody who got lost, because they were upset or something like that, nobody was looking for criminal hints. So when, I think his name was Robert Cantor, one of those two.
I think Robert.
The ranger in the story that we talk about. When he went, he was part of the search and rescue team for the National Park Service. When he went and he interviewed the kids, they all said that they saw Bobby upset, crying, looked angry, hurt, embarrassed, running out of the main lodge where they were all having dinner. At the time, it seems like maybe the rangers and the staff who heard that story, who weren't camp staff, thought, okay, maybe they're talking about a time earlier in the week.
Yep.
But then eventually when 9 News, which is an NBC affiliate in Denver, when they went and interviewed Richard Heister, who was the nephew of Father Richard Heister, the guy running the camp, when they went and interviewed him, he said he's pretty certain that the day that Bobby ran crying out of the main lodge is the day he disappeared, and that's when he disappeared, because they were gathered there for dinner. So the story Terry tells, which is Bobby was fishing with me in a group, or Bobby was fishing just with me down by the creek, depending on which news report you look at.
Yeah.
Also, he's also referred to as Terry White and Terry Cowan at one point. Like they switch up his name. It's very weird.
It is.
There was another counselor named White there at the time, who actually went on to abuse 70 boys. Known victims. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. So basically Terry's version of the story doesn't fly at all.
Yeah.
Because nobody saw Bobby there. The only thing that suggested Bobby was there at any point was they found his tackle box.
Yep.
But the tackle box's location was also up in the air, because some people said it was only a few hundred yards from the camp. Some people said it was half a mile down the river, down the creek. So everything about the fishing story is fishy. And then everything about the story told by the boys who saw him run out of there, taken in context, when you start looking at it as foul play, their story makes a lot more sense. Because Neil Hewitt, who was one of the last counselors to speak to Bobby, if not the last counselor, he says that Bobby came to the concession stand and wanted to buy some candy. He told Bobby no, and then Bobby, got upset and ran off. Richard Heister's story, the younger Richard Heister, matches that. He saw Bobby running out of the lodge. All the other kids saw Bobby running out of the lodge. If you are looking at it in 1958 saying this poor kid went missing, and everyone's saying that, then your immediate thought is, okay, this must have been earlier. He must have been upset, and maybe he ran off on Friday because of something that happened earlier that day or another day, and that's why he was upset. And so we're starting from that position. Once you recognize that Terry's story makes no sense whatsoever, and it doesn't match anything, and you start looking at it as maybe this is a criminal kind of thing, maybe this is foul play, suddenly a much different picture is painted. And that picture gets enhanced because Neil Hewitt, the guy who was the last to see Bobby, was eventually, caught for molesting 9 kids.
Yeah.
So when you know that Neil was having inappropriate relationships with children, and you know that he was one of the last people to see Bobby before everyone else saw Bobby run out of the room embarrassed and upset, I don't think that it's unreasonable to connect the dots.
Nope.
And say that maybe Bobby ran out hurt, embarrassed, and upset because Neil had done something inappropriate.
Yep.
And the person who found Bobby's body a year later was Neil Hewitt.
Yep.
Which is extremely suspicious. There was another one of Neil's victims who even said as much. He was like, the fact that Neil was the one who found the body is a huge red flag. The fact that he was even out there is a red flag.
Yeah.
It's... Where they found the body, this is the weird part, it was a ravine. It was at 11,000 feet on the mountain, up from 8,700, I want to say. The camp was at, I think, 8,700 feet. So it was a full 3,300 feet too high. Which is a considerable trek for a lone deaf 10-year-old.
Yep. Also, key detail, I don't know if you were about to get to this or not, but it's definitively above the tree line to a point which you can see the camp.
Yep. Had Bobby died where his body was found, he would have been able to look down and see the camp. And he would have been able to look down and see the creek, go to Cabin Creek, and just follow it down.
Because the creek runs right through the camp.
Exactly. So if Bobby were in a position where he was desperate, where he realized he was, life or death, he probably would have been able to get down to camp unless he was already too injured or exhausted by the time he got up there.
Yeah.
Now, Larry Collins, one of the search and rescue people that was involved in this case, his job was to get rid of currant and gooseberry bushes that grew up in those high areas, and to make sure that they didn't grow within 100 yards of any of the native trees because they would carry a fungus that would then kill the trees. So he was very accustomed to being up there. He was involved in a lot of search and rescue missions at that altitude. And what he said was he had never seen, in 35 years of search and rescue, he had never seen somebody who got lost go uphill. At least not that far uphill.
Yeah.
You know, a couple hundred feet maybe. 3,000 is a hike.
Especially for a kid.
Yeah. So him, Roger Contour, you know, basically the other people who were able to be reached about this investigation, because of course it was 1958, so a lot of people involved aren't alive anymore.
Yeah.
Basically everybody who was not a camp staff member seems to think the same thing, that Bobby was running away from the camp,
Yep.
and that he was trying not to be found because he didn't want to be harmed by anybody who worked for the camp. And that the search efforts might have just been driving him further and further out of the initial search area because he was worried that he was going to be punished
Yep.
for what happened, which is reasonable. It's reasonable to understand that. It's also makes you wonder, you know, why do you think he would be punished? And had he been punished before? Had other kids been punished? Yeah, it's a really awful story, and it just gets worse because finally, in 2020, a guy named Tom McCloskey. Tom McCloskey sees the Nine Wants to Know documentary on the Bobby Bizup case and the three priests who were involved at that camp, who eventually went on to be convicted,
Yep.
or at least found to have committed these crimes, even if the statute of limitations was passed. So he goes, and by the way, Neil Hewitt did complete seminary, became a priest in 1962, and then left the priesthood in 1980 to get married, which stunning that he got away with that.
Yeah.
And that somebody chose to marry him afterwards. Well, of course, I don't think that any of that came to light until the 2010s, but still,
Yeah.
you know, you're not supposed to do that. But
Nope.
this guy, Tom McCloskey, his dad, Dr. Joseph McCloskey, had given him a juvenile human skull, so, like around 1980. He kept the thing for 40 years in a basement, basically knowing that it probably had some sort of terrible story associated with it. But
Kind of hard for there not to be.
and you kind of, in a way, have to sympathize with the guy, because his dad handed him the skull of a child and said, this might belong to, or this belongs to the kid that went missing at that camp. What are you gonna do with that information? Like,
Nothing.
if you go to the police, if your dad's still alive and you go to the police, your dad's spending the rest of his life in jail. If your dad's dead and you go to the police, then you have to basically tell the entire world how awful a person your own father was. If you take it to the police and you don't mention your dad, well, then you got to explain how you got it.
Yep.
And then you're a suspect.
Yep.
So what he did was, for 40 years, he just tried to figure out whose skull this was. Anytime a missing persons case came up, anytime a kid vanished, anytime a kid's body was found, he tried to figure out, could this be, you know, that skull? Anytime an old body was found.
Yep.
Anytime, you know, one of these crimes was uncovered, he sees the Nine Wants to Know documentary. He turns the skull over to federal authorities. I think the National Park Service actually ended up with it. It had been sitting in a paper sack in his basement for 40 years. And I don't believe it's still an open case, so I couldn't find any recent information on the skull. Again, this was only a little over 3 years ago.
Yep.
It was, I think, January of 2020 that he turned it over. So a little over 3 years.
Yep.
It's pretty recent. And as far as federal investigations go, that's not a ton of time.
No.
So there was no news to suggest whether or not the skull was proven to belong to him. Also, there's the problem of both his parents are dead. He was an only child. It's a skull. Like, you got to go for the mitochondrial DNA,
Yeah.
which means that in order, you know, it's going to be harder to do this than if he had living relatives, or if they had found hair or like skin, something like that.
Yep.
Of course, he does have living cousins, and if the skull matches them, then that's a pretty good indication that it is in fact Bobby.
Yep.
You know, thank God his parents died thinking that, you know, he just got lost. That is the one silver lining in all of this, is, you know, at least his parents didn't have to live knowing or at least believing what could have happened to their son was that awful.
Yeah.
That's a small mercy in it. But, I think as far as I understand, Neil Hewitt's still alive. He claims he didn't have anything to do with Bobby's death or disappearance. I guess directly, as far as he might be of the opinion, he doesn't have anything to do with Bobby's disappearance, but it sounds very much like he has a lot to do with Bobby's disappearance. Yeah, it's, and I was looking through it. There are wild animals up there, but only one of the bones they found showed signs of predation. It was scavenging anyway. Of course, they didn't find half his body. Yeah. So maybe an animal did drag it off. In fact, an animal probably did drag it off.
Given the environment and the animals within it, I'd be shocked if something didn't.
Yeah, so, how does Bobby get up there is really the question. Did he get himself up there? Because if he did, that's impressive for a 10-year-old who's deaf and alone in the course of just a few days. Like, that's a tough climb. And on top of that, when did he get up there? Because that's the other weird thing, is that the area had been searched 3 times. And the people searching at that point were not just camp staff. It's not like, camp staff searched it 3 times and just said, oh, no, nothing up there.
Yep.
There were, that was where Larry Collins was. That was where a bunch of National Park Search and Rescue guys were. That was where a bunch of Civil Air Patrol, Air National Guard, Air Force, soldiers, not soldiers, airmen, were, traversing this area looking for signs of Bobby, and none of them found that. The 3 times that ravine was searched, they said it was searched, the newspaper said it was searched in the fall. So that means, I guess, the search continued past, when it was officially ended.
Yep.
Or maybe they searched the area 3 times between the 15th and the 20th of August. But that means that Bobby was not there during that time period.
Yep.
Was Bobby alive when the search ended? If not, where was his body? Who put it there? There are so many unanswered questions.
Yep.
And because it was so long ago, it's really difficult to tell, what happened. The one thing I can say for certain is that this absolutely does not sound paranormal. It does not sound like Bigfoot. It does not even sound like a missing 411 case. It sounds like a couple of priests molested a kid and he ran off.
Yep.
So I'm a little frustrated with David, because this is one of the cases where what he's saying actually brings us farther from the truth.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cases that he's covered where I'm like, all right, you know what? He's making good points. This one, there's a large number of people who watched Missing 411 and now believe that Bobby's disappearance was actually something that was mysterious rather than a horrible, horrible tragedy with actual living perpetrators who might be brought to justice.
For context, what is the story within Politis's?
He leaves. Okay, so I will give him credit on this. When he released the movie, when he released the book on this, to my knowledge, he has not updated this case, and that's what frustrates me. But to my knowledge, he did not update the case after any of this came out. I will give him credit in that the skull part was not determined. And I don't think even the priests at the camp were determined to have done that until 2019. So when he originally presented the case, if he was doing his due diligence to the extent that he claims he does, he probably should have uncovered the stuff that Contour and Collins were saying, as well as the younger Richard Heaster. I'm just frustrated that he hasn't, again, to my knowledge, gone back. And I looked. I couldn't find anything where he's like, I'm sorry, not Chris Tompkins, where he's like, Bobby Bizup update, it was probably this.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of people who now believe that this case was supernatural instead of just really sad.
Yeah.
And, I think the fact that Neil Hewitt is still living and living freely is absurd under the circumstances, because if he did do what I think he did and that caused Bobby to run off and Bobby running off caused Bobby to die, in my opinion, he killed the kid.
Yeah.
Like, that is a child. That is someone who does not have the skills to survive on their own. And if you do something that upsets them so much that they run off into the wilderness and die, at least manslaughter.
Yeah.
You are responsible for that. So it frustrates me that he was never brought to justice.
What was the original story? What was the hypothesis or the theory?
it left out. David tells the story as Bobby was fishing with a group. The counselor signaled him that it was time to go. He nodded. Counselor turned around and started walking up the hill with the rest of the group, and then nobody noticed that Bobby was gone until they got back to the lodge. And then when they went to look for him, he wasn't there. And then a year later, they found his remains high up the mountain in the opposite direction of where he disappeared. Just that information alone is weird, because if it were a mountain lion or a bear or something like that, and it got him at 8,400 feet, it's not dragging his body to 11,000.
Highly unlikely.
They're just not going to do that. It's going to drag it probably somewhere a lot closer and eat it. So yeah, in the absence of the information from the 2019 investigation, it seems a lot more supernatural, but what the hell happened there?
No.
You know, how does that kid make it several miles and 3,000 feet in elevation alone without being found, as there's people actively searching the area for him?
Yeah.
In that version of the story is mysterious. What I'm frustrated with, I guess, with Politis, is that he did not do the level of investigation that NBC did. And not even national NBC, local branch affiliate NBC.
Yep.
Maybe they had more resources, but he seems to be doing all right for himself as far as these documentaries go. So that annoys me, because, you know, this is a real person who a real terrible thing happened to, and it's not getting you closer to the truth when you look at that version of events. It's getting you farther from it, and I don't like that at all. And I don't think he did it on purpose. I just think it was a failure to go the extra mile, I guess, is how I would put that. But yeah, that's how I feel about that angle of the case. That's really all there is to it, though, is, you know, this is just a really upsetting, really upsetting story. You know, and this is what we keep doing is, as we look into a lot of these cases, a lot of them are less supernatural than they appear, and far more people are capable of horrible things. So, also, I did see something when I was on Pop Culture Crisis. If we go here, it pulls up all the super chats.
Oh, nice. That's very fitting.
Isn't that so much simpler than how we've been doing it?
Nicer, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, we are.
Speaking of which, check out the episode of Pop Culture Crisis that I was on.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun. Probably gonna go back. They said they'd love to have me again. They're gonna bring this one too. So we get to go down and chill in West Virginia.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Country road,
take me home. There was something I was just gonna say. Oh yeah, we were kind of like going full Scooby-Doo style with all these stories, in the sense of like,
they're going from monsters to bad people,
real estate developers. Not quite.
Takes off the skull, like the antlered skull. It's just like a priest, and you're like, Father Heaster. I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling 20-somethings.
Yep.
How would you meddling white boys in your 20s?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how would you even describe us? How would you guys describe us?
If it wasn't for off-brand Sam and Dean.
I mean, yeah, kind of. If it wasn't for...
Named like Sean and Dwight.
Sean and Darren.
Like Darren.
I don't know. It feels better than Dwight.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, but I mean, we'll go to server chats early on this one, because it's you know, it's really just more tragic than anything else.
Yeah, it's just sad.
I don't even feel like going into like the folklore and paranormal stuff of the area, because I'm still like hung up on the fact that this is just such a horrible situation.
Yeah. So let's not be sad.
But yeah, let's
ask us fun questions.
Also, it's, you know, he's gotta get going early, and I feel horrible. So
yeah, fair. There's multiple reasons why we're gonna keep this rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who are curious, I have to go down to Maryland to do filming for my day job.
Which is kind of funny because I was just in
there.
Maryland. Could have worked out.
It could have, but it didn't.
Would have been way better. But it is what it is. So I guess read the two that we got. We got one from Norberto Rodriguez Jr. for $5 that says maybe he was chased up there and knew he could not trust any of the adults at the camp and did not know he was being looked for by authorities. That was one of the theories, is that not the chased part, but that he didn't trust the adults.
Yeah.
And so he was hiding from them, didn't realize that the people searching for, because you got to remember he's deaf.
Yeah.
So his only perception of the people looking for him is what he can see.
Yeah.
And, if he's hiding, if he's panicked, he might not be able to think clearly and see, like, okay, that's not a seminarian.
Yeah.
It's not a priest.
Also, if he's hiding, he's not actively looking out, theoretically, at, like, who may or may not be there. And if he can't hear anything, like, even if there were choppers in the air, all this different stuff, if he can't hear it.
Exactly.
Like,
you're only going to know what you can see.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're hiding, you can't see much.
Yep. Then Iron Death 14 said, look up Sika Hollow in South Dakota. I'd be interested if you think something might be there. There's been a lot of local sightings of weird things. Time for a hunting trip for the guys and me. Yeah, I can look into it. You want to put that on the sheet?
Sure. What is it, Sika Hollow?
Sika Hollow. We also need to start, one of the videos I want to do soon is Giants, but that's going to take a while.
Insert Isaiah.
Yeah, exactly.
Face.
Well, I want him to help with it. I want him and Mini Minuteman on it. If I can get them both,
that would be
a fun one, right?
That'd be really fun. We got one from Odin's Eye for $20. Thanks, Odin's Eye.
What does Odin's Eye say?
Just want y'all to know you do great work and that y'all helped me through a pretty rough breakup. Love y'all. We're glad we could help.
Glad we could help. I feel you.
Relatable.
Work has also helped me through some pretty rough breakups.
Yeah. It's good to be able to have something to keep your mind on.
This whole thing is the result of a breakup. Like, because when the girl I was dating in 2020, when she and I broke up, I realized I hated my job and most things about my life. So I decided to go to grad school, and I quit my job, and me giving my 2 weeks and sitting at my desk with no work to do was why I was on TikTok at the time. Saw the post that I saw, made the stitch that I did, and now we're here.
Yep.
So,
it's amazing how one choice.
Yeah. Like, it's the way that things interact is nuts. In your life. How threads come together, and there's always a reason for everything. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes that reason is so beyond understanding in the moment.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's really all you could say.
I guess this is happening right now.
Yep. And then, like, days, months, years later, you can look back and be like, oh.
Exactly. It's like,
I get it now.
I've had to deal with that so I could get you here. Okay, I see what we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, I wish the Lord's ways weren't quite as mysterious. I wish that the Lord worked in very obvious ways.
Yeah. Could you be a little more transparent, please?
God giving his most ambiguous battles to his most anxious soldier.
Could you tell me what it's for? No. Why? You'll find out later.
It's a surprise tool that'll help us later.
It's a new Mouska tool.
It's a surprise. E for $4.99 said, first live I'm catching. Howdy y'all. Here's an official request for a video on Philippine cryptids. There's a few that I could absolutely do that on.
Yeah.
Yes, I did decide to become a niche internet micro celebrity. It went better than I expected.
It's like, it's funny, but it's true.
This one's doing numbers meme, like, except it actually is.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
This one's doing numbers. It has 75,000 views. Me looking at the view count on the Banshee video with questions to this day. Like, why did y'all decide to just not watch that video?
Yeah, for anybody here, did you not watch the Banshee video, and why?
I don't think it's even that people chose not to watch it. I think YouTube actually didn't show it to people.
Yeah, they just throttled it.
Because the click-through rate was the same.
Mm-hmm.
The watch time was the same. Like, basically all of the analytics were the same except for views. which means that they just weren't showing it to people. It's so frustrating.
It is.
Iron
Iron Death 14 for $10. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Hollow is known for the rivers in it running. Hang on, what? The Hollow is known for the rivers in it running blood red at certain parts of the year. It's one of the reservations out there.
Okay, there's either a really cool scientific explanation for that, or that's cursed as hell.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards cursed as hell. But
It sounds cursed.
We'll find out. Bacon Snake 64 for $1.99 said.
What a name!
I know, that's incredible.
What a name!
I'm gonna be going yote hunting up near Logan, Utah. Hang on a second. Do you go to Utah State? Because that's where Logan is, and one of my good buddies and a number of people I met through that, he went to Utah State. Great spot, great town. Plaz for $5 said, aside from medication, what works best for you to meditate your anxiety? My fiance has been suffering lately, and I want to help her however I can.
CBD works for a lot of people. It's perfectly safe. It's it's hemp derived. It's not illegal.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, there's I know a lot of people who use medical marijuana, and it works for them. I took Ativan and Zoloft for a while, which works.
Can you explain the quotes for people?
It's less that those less help you to be not anxious and more just kill any and all emotion. So you're not anxious, but you're also not happy or sad or any emotion of any value.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's there is no cure for it right now. They're looking into a lot of stuff. I know they're looking into psilocybin from magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Ketamine treatments are being tested. There's a whole bunch of different things that they're trying for it. But honestly, I wish I had a better answer for you. The real answer is I suffer. Just suffer until it goes away.
Yeah. Time heals all of it.
It sucks because alcohol is actually really helpful with it. It's just then you have when the alcohol starts getting filtered out of your system, the anxiety gets worse.
Yep.
So that's how anxiety creates alcoholics, is that the alcohol fixes the anxiety for a short period of time. You wake up the next day even more anxious.
Yep.
Then you have to drink.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend alcohol as a way to treat anxiety. If you're stuck, maybe a shot of whiskey isn't the worst thing in the world, but don't make it a habit.
Yeah. Solomon Vandy for $10 said, greetings from the alligator state. Besides the skunk ape, which cryptids are local to Central Florida?
That's a great question. I will have to get back to you.
Well, there's a skunk ape, and there was the...
Tuvalu is kind of further northwest.
Okay.
That's why it was involved in the video, is that it was close but not quite the same, because the Seminole and the Cherokee are related. They're both Mississippian, I believe.
Have we done anything on Cajun area cryptids?
We should do a video on werewolves. That did just occur to me.
Well, we have all of these that we haven't done.
That is true. That's a lot of them.
Are werewolves in here? They should be. They're not.
Have you really not done hellhounds?
No.
I thought we did at one point. Maybe we made TikTok about it.
I think that was the one that disappeared.
I thought Persia was the one that disappeared.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Have we still not found that?
No.
Insane. There's just a lost episode of the History Hut.
Yep. Oh, we need to do this month's History Hut.
Yeah. I did not have the best month.
Yeah, no,
I'm a little behind.
No, it's all good. No, I don't blame you.
March was not my month.
No.
It's the song "Weightless" by All Time Low, where it's maybe it's not my weekend, but it's gonna be my year.
Yeah.
I feel like it also might not be my month or even my year.
Oh no, it'll be your year.
Yeah, boy, I was hoping it's gonna be my decade.
Fair.
I'll be all right if my 20s are my decade, but
real quick, I'm gonna scroll a little bit. What is it?
If there's anything else in here?
From Bobcat for $5. Have you heard back from that guy about the bone tree? I think.
No, is mentioned in there. I think he went to basic training.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's still alive, so that's great.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Oh, Kat's asking about when we're going to bring back Lore Lounge.
I'm gonna do that next weekend, as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Have you played Control? Just recently finished it from NovA42.
I have not. What is Control?
I don't know.
Actually, I'll leave that. I'll look it up on my phone. It's on Steam.
I would imagine.
Uh,
By the way, did we update the realm for Minecraft?
no. I think I'm gonna. I will get that one back up, but I think I also want to set up an actual dedicated server so we can add mods.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We should probably just have somebody who knows how. Do you know how to do that?
No, but I could probably find out.
If somebody can help us with it, we can pay for it. It's just.
Yep. If somebody knows how to run a Minecraft server and wants to do it for us.
Yeah, I just don't play a ton of Minecraft. I don't play a ton of video games at all at this point. Because I spend most of my time working.
Yep, same. Iron Death 14 for $10 said, I'm also known as
Supernatural
Forest Outhouse on
third-person
Discord.
action-adventure game. All right, I might have to stream this week.
What is it?
After a secretive agency in New York is invaded by an otherworldly threat, you become the new director struggling to regain control. This supernatural third-person action-adventure game will travel you to master a combination of supernatural abilities, modifiable loadouts, and reactive environments while fighting through... This is a very poorly designed website. Is there a read-only mode for this?
It's a good question.
There is not. I can't... through a deep and unpredictable world. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I can definitely check this one out.
Sweet. Next one from Iron Death 14 for $10 is, I'm also known as Forest Outhouse on the Discord. If you need a South Dakota contact for any pictures of the Black Hills, I work in the most remote areas and even got attacked by a mountain lion.
Well, I'm glad you survived.
Yeah. Congrats on dangerous. You for being the alpha in that situation. Pixel Music for £2 said, tips on how to get the girl.
You think I know?
Well, I mean, it's open.
I'm actually pretty good at getting them. I'm not very good at keeping them.
Fair.
That seems to be my problem.
Tips on how to get the girl.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Not chasing seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, my most recent girlfriend, the night we met, I did not. All I did was pull a couple of creepy guys off of her, and then we didn't start dating for like almost a year.
Yeah.
We just became friends.
Yeah.
I was completely oblivious that she had anything for me until she asked me out. Like, that's how. So I guess that works.
Fair. Yeah, I would say confidence is probably the biggest key, partially because it really just comes down to, like, the whole cliche thing of, like, love yourself first is true in the sense of you're never going to find a fulfilling relationship until you are fulfilled on your own. And then once you're able to do that and you're not searching for a relationship, the right one will come, purely because of the fact that if you're using it as an emotional crutch or you're looking for self-worth in the relationship, it is doomed to fail. Because even if you're not aware of it, if the other person is even remotely aware of themselves or their surroundings, even if they're not explicitly aware of exactly what's happening, they will recognize what you're doing, and it'll just create an unhealthy feedback loop that will cause the relationship to fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, the best way I could put it is, like, try to be the best. If you're a man trying to get a woman's attention, be her friend and be a very good man in front of her.
Yeah.
Well, just be a good man for the sake of being a good man.
Yeah.
But if, obviously you can't force a woman to be attracted to you.
No.
But if she is, and she can see that you're a good person, then if she's worth your time, then she's going to, then she will probably end up, you know, having interest.
Yeah. There's really no way to get
and
someone.
if you're a good person and there's one who's attracted to you and doesn't want to be with you, then there's just nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
at the end of the day, if that's what happens, then you two wouldn't have worked out anyway. So you should just be able to take that and move on.
Oh, what else we got here?
We have Dustin Shaw for $1.99 saying, love the work. Also, no weird Bible this month? ?
We're as surprised as you are. Hopefully this month. I would do 2 this month if the goon himself is available.
Yeah.
If he's not, then maybe we'll start to revise how we do the show a little bit.
Yeah, fair.
So let's see. A Chinese scroll, Zuin Senpai said, a Chinese scroll called Shen Hai Jing from the 4th century BC was a thesaurus of hundreds of mythical creatures. You might be interested. I will have to take a look at it. Pumpkin Bear for $2 said, Rougarou vid on It's a Werewolf, Not Bigfoot. I'm confused by the grammar of that
I'm assuming
chat.
Rougarou video
Are you saying
specifically in relation to the fact that it is more likely werewolf, not Bigfoot.
okay, gotcha. All right, that makes sense. That Dexy guy for 5 said, my body is a machine that turns alcohol and anxiety into sortie hours. Keep up the masterful work.
That's amazing. That's an incredible
My
sentence.
body is a machine that turns alcohol and anxiety.
That is amazing.
Beautiful.
Are we
Thank
talking
you.
sortie like air combat missions?
I hope not.
I was just gonna say, like,
Flight of the Valkyries and it's just somebody spinning out of control.
yeah. Can we
What?
can we get a clarification as to what you are referring to by sortie hours, please?
Gamer for 5 said, I know it's got a bad rep, but do you guys have any thoughts on Fallout 76 portrayal of stuff like Mothman, Flatwoods, most Appalachian cryptids? I did not play it because everything I heard was that it was terrible.
Yeah, the only
I
relation
heard no good things about Fallout 76.
the only relation to Fallout 76 I have are watching the Internet Historian video on it and my buddy playing it and saying, yeah, I played 3 hours of it, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I heard it got better over time, but like,
Yeah, but like it wasn't like No Man's Sky better.
yeah. Also, I mean, from what I can tell, like Bethesda games just don't seem to do well as MMOs.
No.
I don't. That's the thing about like Skyrim and Fallout and all that is I love the fact that it's actual combat instead of like attacks that take out a certain number of HP and you got to recharge stuff. I like that you are a man in armor with a bow.
Yep.
And when you shoot people, they die. I don't want to have to like push a button to do a weird combo of like pre-chosen attacks because it's an open world game that is online as well and it's all server side.
Yep.
I like the client side aspect of Bethesda games. I don't think that they're ideal. And thank you, Mom, for the encouragement.
It's always nice to have that. We love supportive mothers.
My mother is a supportive mom. She's definitely a supportive mom. For a lighter topic, how about the riots in France? It's a great one. The French will riot over anything. Like, they have one of the lowest retirement ages in the Western world, and then they were like, hey, we kind of have people living too long for this to make financial sense. We need to raise the age of retirement. And the French population is like, no, we will not have it.
You can dislike France anybody.
When
can
our
hate on
sons is
France.
62, it is time to drink wine, smoke cigarettes, and shit on my wife. Like,
I will say that if the French can do anything right, and anything with the ability to inspire, it is rebel.
that's true.
It is absolutely rebel.
I mean, you can, like, think about it. The United States, we had a revolution and then a civil war.
Yep.
France is on its 5th republic, and it's younger than ours country is.
Yep.
The United States Constitution is the oldest working constitution in the world.
Which is kind
I
of...
know you're sitting there in the audience like, what about the Magna Carta? It's not a constitution.
Well, for those who are curious, what's the difference between the Magna Carta and a constitution?
The Magna Carta was an agreement between the nobles of England and the crown regarding what the king was allowed to do and what he needed to ask permission for. It's not really binding. It's been ignored numerous times, and it doesn't have the same, like, it doesn't structure government nearly as clearly and cohesively as the Constitution does.
Yep.
It's not even as strong as the Articles of Confederation. The king can just ignore it at will if he really wants to. It's just kind of a faux pas to do so.
Got it.
What kept the Magna Carta working was not any judicial review system or legislative body. It was the feudal system. It was that if you pissed off your nobles too much, they would rebel.
Yeah.
So,
Steve Dory said working in relation to your comment about the Constitution.
oh yeah, well, I meant the oldest constitution that is currently in use.
Yeah.
Is it actually doing its job? No, not at all. But boy. They can rebel and surrender, that's it.
Beef said, I forgot about the Magna Carta. That's incredible.
Forgot about the Magna Carta. He's on a shirt too.
Yep, I'm thinking the same thing.
Magna Carta, is that some kind of vape?
Magna Carta, is that like a new credit card from American Express?
Magna Card.
The Magna card. The Magnum card.
I do love that the like Magna Guards in Star Wars in Revenge of the Sith are it literally just means like the Great Guards.
Yep.
I love the naming conventions in Star Wars. The bad guy in Bad Batch is named Admiral Rampart.
Yep.
Like Rampart, really? That's what you went with?
Yep.
Just okay.
Yep. Can we talk about
Darth Maul's brother in Clone Wars is named Savage Oppress.
Yeah.
I mean, they say it's Savage Oppress.
Yeah.
It's Savage Oppress.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Real quick.
Darth Vader is just Darth Father.
Yep.
Sidious is just Insidious without the in.
Yep.
The other ones are like Bane, Nihilus.
Yep.
Nihilus meaning
There's
of course,
no
nothing matters.
subtlety in Star Wars.
No, not at all.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. What is your favorite Star Wars movie versus which one do you think is the best?
I think my favorite is Revenge of the Sith. I think the best is Empire.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Easy.
I think Rogue One is actually up there in like the top 5 as well.
Oh yeah.
Like also I like Phantom Menace.
Fair.
I'll say it. I think it's a good film.
I
think Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie though.
the worst of the original 6.
There are more.
Well, there's the spin-offs like Rogue One and so on and things like
Okay, yeah.
that. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was just making sure that there weren't like, a trilogy I didn't know about or something.
No.
Okay,
You're
cool.
fine, you're fine. Well, that's the thing is because all of the scenes
Palpatine returns.
all of the scenes with Obi-Wan and Attack of the Clones is like great.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's just everything in between.
I would have watched Attack of the Clones if it was just Obi-Wan doing detective work.
Yep. I'm sure there's an edit
There's an
somewhere.
arc in Clone Wars where Obi-Wan goes undercover to infiltrate like a conspiracy to capture the Emperor or capture the Chancellor.
Yeah.
And it's basically that, and it's amazing.
Yep.
It's one of the best arcs in the series.
Yep.
It's just Obi-Wan doing detective stuff.
Yep. Which
great.
like who doesn't love that?
Yeah. I still have to see the like movie, the 2-hour edit of Kenobi.
There's a new one coming out
Ooh.
with a guy who's actually so that's just a re-edit.
Yeah.
There's a guy who shot new shots and little bits of scenes.
Oh my god.
And he's re-editing and like doing VFX work. I just found it a couple days ago.
I like how the entire community was like, no, this needs to be fixed.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they haven't done that with any other Star Wars movies that I'm aware of.
Nope.
Like,
Nope. It's literally just like, no. You can't do this to
Yeah.
Kenobi. You can't do this to the guy.
you know what's an absolute fever dream?
What?
Book of Boba Fett, going back and rewatching it.
I still haven't seen it.
I have never seen a show simultaneously have some of the like coolest characters ever created in media and also just the worst writing and acting. Like the only good recurring actor in the series is Tamira Morrison. Everyone else is overacting or the script sucks, It's
Yeah.
What's up with the random space teens on motorcycles?
Yeah, I saw that one clip and I was like, I don't need to watch this.
It's so bad. There are a couple of good moments, but I go back and I watch it. And initially I was like, all the hate this is getting is just because Star Wars fans hate everything. We're never happy. I went back and, oh my God, it's bad. And it just, at one point, it just becomes like season, 2.5 of The Mandalorian for a bit.
Yep.
Which, unironically, is the best episode. Mandalorian's great, though.
Oh,
Loving
Mandalorian's fantastic. Norberto Rodriguez Jr. for $2 said, could a spirit be afraid of a person and retreat? I would imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine
That's kind of what,
when you hold a cross up to it or something.
Yeah. Or like, I guess, it's, demon well, your original theory about demons was that they were spirits anyway, but I guess an exorcism is kind of a way.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a fan remake of The Last Jedi. Ugh.
How? How? You'd have to reshoot the whole thing.
Have you watched any more of Andor? Also,
no, I've only been watching with you.
Yeah, we gotta finish that up maybe next weekend.
Yeah,
Andor is just good. It's not even just good Star Wars. It's just a good show.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked everything thus far.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with that one. That one, Mandalorian. I'm excited for Ahsoka. I was really happy that in the latest episode of, I think it was Mandalorian, there's a cameo from Rebels that's really fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bad Batch also had some Rebels cameos that were fun in it. But yeah, I like the way that they're taking the best aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe idea, the concept of like all these interwoven stories, and they're using it in the right way instead of it being you have to watch everything to understand. When a character from another piece of Star Wars media shows up, you don't need to know their whole story.
No.
Because they give you what you need to know. So the cameo makes sense. It advances the story. It makes you happy. You're excited. You're enjoying it. But if you didn't watch Rebels, then you're not stuck wondering, what's going on here? Who's this person? It's just fun for you if you already know, but also a good story if you don't.
Yeah.
And I think they've been doing a great job at that. Whereas Marvel, the reason I haven't watched anything since Endgame, aside from Infinity War. No, what was the last one?
Endgame.
Yep. Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Endgame. I think the only Marvel property I've watched since that was Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The only thing I've watched since that is the Spider-Man one.
Okay, yeah, Spider-Man.
That's it.
Yeah, No Way Home was great.
Yeah.
No Way Home was really good.
Yeah, that was fun. But
It's one of the first Marvel movies in a long time, and then been like, damn, that was a good movie.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, though.
It becomes so formulaic.
Well, they've become so formulaic, but it's also they've become way too big and bloated.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why people loved the first Iron Man and, like, a lot of the stuff in Phase 1, it was self-contained. The stakes were high, but they were low enough to where it was, like, you could actually fathom the risk.
Exactly. The stakes were Tony Stark might die and bad guy might get armor suit.
Yeah.
Like, that was Iron Man 1.
Yep.
By Avengers, there's giant alien ships attacking New York City.
Yep.
Also, another trope with Hollywood that I wish we could get away from. New York does not need to be the center of every movie.
Nope.
Houston exists. Atlanta's there. Miami's a real place.
Well, and you know what's shocking as well is that
I would say Philly, but at least Philly gets a movie every now and then. Same with Boston.
And you know what's so funny though is that so many films that are shot in cities now are shot, if they're shot in the USA instead of Vancouver,
They're shot in Atlanta.
they're shot in Atlanta because of the tax break.
Yep.
But they never want it to actually be Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's
I
okay
don't
to be
get, like,
Atlanta.
why can't there be a movie where something happens in Denver? Like, I'm sick of stories about New York. I don't care. New Yorkers aren't people. Like they do not exist in the same plane as us. New York is a ridiculous, silly place full of nonsense.
It is, honestly. I lived there for 4 years.
It's not the real world.
I go back and I'm like, my time doesn't feel real that I was there, and I go back and it's like it really is a different world.
Yeah.
You go through one of those tunnels and you might as well be going through a wormhole to a completely different civilization.
It has no right being as different from Philadelphia as it is. Like, it really doesn't.
No, it's crazy.
I think it's because it's on an island. I think it's
Yeah, no,
I think it's a huge part of it.
Oh yeah.
We got some more super chats though.
We did. Let me make sure that we're going back to the right. Yeah, we're good. Plaster $5 says, Big Wreck Dresden Files, wizard in a modern Chicago, tons of well-researched supernatural / esoteric / folklore stuff, even a very scary skinwalker in Book 11.
I'll have to take a look at that.
Interesting.
Videos on cryptids in Arizona, specifically Tonto Forest.
From Story Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, immediately skinwalkers are an Arizona thing as well as New Mexico and Utah. So, but yeah, I can take a look at Tonto Forest.
Yeah, might as well. Noska J177 or 117 for $5 said, enjoyed your episode of PCC. Wanted to watch it live, but work was too busy.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is at a weird time of day.
Yeah.
But it kind of has to be because the next show that they have is on at 8. So they have to,
yeah, that's fair.
you know.
Odin's Eye for $5 said, watch Moon Knight. It's disconnected from the rest of the MCU, and it's great.
Oscar Isaac's a great actor, too.
Yeah.
I should watch it.
Fair enough, I'm down. Bobcat for $5 said, Atlanta and rural Pennsylvania are the go-to settings for zombie movies.
Yeah.
How many zombie movies are in rural Pennsylvania?
I actually don't know of any off the top of my head. It's just like knowing rural Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Appalachia
solid
in
one.
general,
Yeah. Well, in rural Pennsylvania, there's just like, it's Pennsylvania is a weird place because you've got like major urban centers spread everywhere throughout the state.
Yeah.
So like, there will be nothing for miles, and then suddenly you've got Harrisburg in the middle of nowhere.
No, that's true.
There's no reason for it to be there. So you could set something up where like, an outbreak started in York, Pennsylvania, and then you've got people, there's a lot of places you can go. You can navigate rivers. Like you could set a pretty good one here.
Yeah. Somebody else in the chat said Philly's crazy too in comparison to New York, and all I have to say is Philly's a different type of crazy.
It's a different type of crazy.
Philly's
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a documentary, yes. Is the same kind of crazy as New York? No. This is not the same kind of crazy as New York.
It's, imagine taking like Rocky and Succession and putting both of those things in a blender together.
Yeah.
And that's Philly. Because the main line has like weird amounts of like old money wealth that like you don't see normally unless you're there and you're in it and you know the people that are there. But then Philly's also got like, what you see of Philly, what you know of Philly. Like the YouTube video of the giant trash fire of 2019 with Elmo and the band out, and the drum line out front. By the way, you will see Elmo and that drum line everywhere. Mm-hmm. They just
we got Philly Jesus.
Yes, Philly Jesus.
Lil Dicky is from Philly.
I always forget that. Part of me always forgets he exists, but
yeah. What else we got? Philly is like, it's a place.
It's so great because like we all know everyone hates Philly, and even though not everyone actually hates Philly, we all hate Philly.
Philadelphians hate Philadelphia,
but we hate it so much that we love it.
Yeah, we hate it, but we hate wherever you're from more.
Yeah. It's like we're the only ones that are allowed to call it. Yeah. It's like Philly's like one big family.
My favorite is Gritty, because when Gritty first came out, when the Flyers revealed Gritty, the entire city of Philadelphia went, "What the hell is that? What are you doing? This is horrible. That is terrifying. What does this even symbolize? What does this mean?" The entire city was like, "I don't want anything to do with that orange thing." And then someone from like New Jersey was like, "Yeah, it is pretty stupid." We went, "Don't you dare disrespect Gritty. Like, how dare you? That is the spirit of Philadelphia and therefore the heart and soul of America." Gritty for president. It can't possibly be worse.
That's a shirt.
I think Gritty would legitimately be the best president in the last 50 years, and it wouldn't be close.
Probably, yeah. God. Imagine the foreign policy capabilities.
Oh, G8, like Putin, G, Macron, whoever's in charge of Britain right now. Can y'all get your shit together? You've had like 8 prime ministers in the last year and a half. You Liz Truss there for like 47 days. She killed the queen and then dipped.
She did her job, I guess.
She did want to get rid of the monarchy. But yeah, so like, and then you got all the world leaders, and then it's just Gritty.
That would be all time. It's incredible.
Gritty would press the button for no reason.
Yep.
Like, Gritty would get in the Oval Office and just immediately nuke something. And it wouldn't be something sensible. It wouldn't be Moscow. It wouldn't be Beijing.
Yeah.
It would be like some youth soccer stadium in Mumbai.
Yeah. Or like Reykjavik.
Yeah. He probably would nuke Iceland.
Why? They're in the middle. I can't trust them.
They're not bothering anybody, and that bothers me.
Oh, Lord. Well, we'll probably wrap it up
Yeah.
shortly. If you have any final super chats, send them in.
Yeah, do you want to just look through and see if there's anything interesting in there?
Let's see.
Gritty was made after what Flyers fans look like in general.
Somebody said, "Isn't Diogenes from?" Or yes, Diogenes from Philadelphia.
Diogenes, if you were to assign an ancient Greek philosopher to the city of Philadelphia, it would absolutely be Diogenes.
Why?
Think about it. Do you know anything about Diogenes?
Not as much as I should.
He lived in an urn, he lived in a pot that was on its side. Yeah, he was a homeless philosopher. He told Alexander the Great was a huge fan of his, so he showed up in Athens and spoke to Diogenes, and he said, is there any request anything of me and I will grant it. This is the man who is the soon to be basically the emperor of the known world.
Yeah.
And Diogenes said, "Get out of my sunlight." I believe it was Plato who defined man as a featherless biped. Diogenes walks into the academy holding a plucked chicken and says, "Behold a man."
That's incredible.
Like,
see, here's the problem. A lot of
he was well known for abusing himself in public and evacuating his bowels on the street. Like, he was just completely insane.
Why was he remarkably looked up to?
It's mainly that he took philosophy and made it crude. I mean, I'm no expert on Greek philosophy, but my understanding, he did have actual points to make. But my understanding is basically in a time of people like Plato and Socrates, Diogenes.
So yeah, Philly.
Exactly. Aristotle would be Chicago.
Yep.
Plato would be New York. Diogenes is Philly.
That's incredible. I love it.
All of the cynics are Boston.
Yeah. Yeah. All the cynics are Boston. Who did the Stoics be? Probably
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cincinnati. Yeah.
Akron.
Or
because in order to live in Akron and not immediately want to kill yourself, you have to be pretty stoic.
Yeah. Or
it's the tire capital of the country, I believe.
Well, who would Detroit be?
Somewhere in Gaul. some random drunk Gallic druid.
Love that. History Daddy said, "I'm doing a video on Diogenes. Trust me, he did far more."
Oh, I know.
I'm excited.
I know Diogenes for the ridiculous nonsense.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What else we got here?
If I were not Alexander of Macedon, I would want to be Diogenes. That's incredible.
Oh boy.
It'd be fun for us to do at some point.
What?
Do what Greek god or demigod or whatever are you quiz?
Yeah, true.
I think it'd be fun. One. I'd be curious who you would be.
Norberto Rodriguez Jr. said, "What about Houston?" I don't know who would live in Houston. I don't know who would be Houston. I'm running out of Greek philosophers that I know of.
Yeah, at this point now I'm just starting to think of Roman emperors.
I'm just gonna start saying random Greek names like Themistocles of Diamathea.
Cassius Clay.
That was not.
I know.
That is Muhammad Ali.
I'm aware of who it is.
Okay. All right.
It sounds vaguely Greek, though.
It sounds more Latin.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said
but I mean,
vaguely Greek.
as we know, Latin didn't exist and Rome wasn't real.
Yeah, obviously.
Of course.
If they would cover Celtic folklore, my heart would explode.
We just did. We did a video on the Banshee, and none of you watched it. It's not just about the Banshee; it's about the Book of Invasions too.
Yep.
We talk about a man who turned into a salmon.
Also, I think the last History Hut we did.
Last History Hut was about Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of Ireland stuff.
I love Ireland. It's cool. It's a cool history. It is a cool story. History. Yeah. I did want to do some of the Mabinogion, which is a book of Welsh folk tales that I have. So I might do that as well. What else we got?
When do you do more game streams?
Yeah,
what's your new Twitch schedule?
Twitch schedule is now Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m.
Nice.
And I usually go until viewers drop below an acceptable number.
Fair.
So they're typically like 3 hours, 3 or 4.
Nice.
And yeah, it's hard with the streams because on the one hand, the gaming streams are a lot of fun. I do enjoy them. On the other hand, they get less viewers. So I try to do them once I'm Twitch partner. I'll probably do a lot more. It'll be a lot more balanced.
Yeah.
But I've got to get myself to the partner spot first, and
Fair.
Once I do that,
You heard it. Help them out.
yeah, if you guys can get me to 75 average viewers in April over the course of 25 hours of streaming, then I can start doing gaming streams again. But
There you
until
go.
then, I got to do I got to do more of the reaction style content that people like better.
Yep.
Also got it.
Well, it's 3:14. That's the last of our
What are the
super chat.
donation goals this month? So far, we have only one. It is $5,000, and if you get it, I will dye my hair again, and I will let you guys pick the color,
There we go.
and I will keep it for 2 weeks.
There we go.
So that is one of them.
That should be enough.
Yeah.
Really.
I don't know why YouTube didn't show people the Banshee. It was so weird, but all right. Well, I think that just about brings us to the end of the show for this evening, this afternoon, this earlier in the day show.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for watching. We will have a new video for you guys out on Friday.
Yep.
Do we ever upload Drunk Folklore?
Not yet.
All right.
Yeah, that'll be. Let's say this
I thought we were
weekend.
gonna do it for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, we wanted to, and then
All right,
just
yeah.
check
All right,
out
yeah.
crazy.
If we can put it up this weekend, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the goal.
All right, cool. So yeah, we'll have new content for you then, and that is all. Bye, guys.
See ya.